Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Paris, founder of the Pain Arthritis Relief Center. Today, what I'm going to share with you is a movement practice that I've found to be useful for myself and our patients that we work with here at the center. So as you can see, I'm sitting in a kneeling position. For some of you, this may be difficult. I'm going to give you some options here with the yoga block. I have worked on this position for a long time because it helps with my knee flexibility, ankle flexibility, and the spine alignment here. So very important in this movement series and movement practice is to make sure that at all times your spine is lined up, head is over the shoulders, shoulders are over the hips. So if you have a yoga block at home or you can use several pillows, the most comfortable position for you is going to be keeping the hips above the feet. So I like to sit in this position here. And this is a meditative position. And I know this is a little more of an advanced position. It's taken me a long time to get here myself, but I'm in a daily consistent practice. And that's what I'm hoping that you can create here for yourself is a daily movement practice. What I've found is that sitting and meditating for 20 minutes is really, really, really difficult. It's challenging. So I've created a movement practice that is also meditative. I turn off the phone. I get everything out of the way so that I can just focus on moving my body's joints. That's really what I want to leave you with today, is the ability to know what the joints should do and how to move them and not cause more pain, cause relaxation or create relaxation, and go from there. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the feet. So you can see that I'm not wearing any shoes and I'm not wearing any socks. One of the biggest gifts that you can give your body is to take your shoes and socks off. So our human frame and our human feet and our body, we were not meant to wear shoes and socks. We have muscles and ligaments and tendons in our feet that are meant to move and articulate and have lots of motion in them. And when you keep the socks on and you keep your shoes on, it inhibits that motion. One of the biggest gifts you can give yourself when it's warm enough or even when it's not warm out, you can actually take your shoes and socks off and step on the earth. You can get the electromagnetic force from the earth to your body and vice versa. You can exchange that and connect to Mother Earth. But what we're talking about is a movement practice here. So when you look at the foot itself can be broken up into two parts. You got this big chunky part here, and then you have all the rest of your foot from this part. So if you were to cut a line right in half, you have this movement part, and you have this big chunk in the middle. It's similar to like looking at my fingers here. So I've got my wrist, and we're more used to looking at our wrist here. So I have my wrist, but I've also got my fingers that reach out. So your foot actually, if you were to put a rod right through the center of my foot, when I walk, when I put my foot down, my heel touches, the outside of my foot goes down, and then the inside goes, and then I step. Okay? I'm oversimplifying this, but what's really important to know is that my heel hits the ground first, then the outside should hit, and then the inside should hit, and then I move off. So this part of the foot can actually rotate in here. So in order to ambulate or walk appropriately, you have to be able to have rotation in that part of the foot. So the first thing that I do is, keeping my body in this aligned position always, focusing on a belly breath when I can, and this is more advanced, but still working on a belly breath. And if you're in a mirror, you can see if you're breathing into your shoulders, that promotes more fight or flight, which stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, which stimulates more fear, more anxiety. This breathing into our belly is going to stimulate more healing and regenerative forces in the body. So what I do with my foot is I will if I'm working on my right foot here, I will hold it with my left hand, let the foot rest here. Now, if there are more challenges to holding your foot, you can actually put another block under your knee here, so that you have support, and we'll show you some other methods shortly. And then what I want you to do is take the heel of your right hand, and you're actually going to work on rotating the front of the foot here. Don't worry about how much it can move, because you may see very little movement, especially in the beginning. These things will all improve. You just have to be consistent. And by consistent, I mean on a daily basis. These are not the type of movement practices that you're doing every other day, every week. This is the type of movement that you're doing every day. Now, what's awesome is you could just take your shoes and socks off at your desk at work and sit in your chair, and we'll show you that shortly. But So you're resting your foot in the cup of your hand here, and you're applying a force with, we call this the fat pad of your hand here, and just putting a nice rotational force. If you start feeling pain in the knee or the hip, you've gone too far. So you want to go one direction here, and then you also want to take the pad of your hand and pull it the other direction. So this is, it might be a little unfair for you watching this because my feet are pretty flexible because I work on this a lot. You can also take the thumb joint on the bottom hand and rotate the foot here. So you see you got some really nice rotation. I can vary it by holding my foot here. I'm supporting with my elbow right here on the hip. I've got my hand and my heel in my hand here, so I got a really good support, and I can get nice rotation in the foot here. So then I can work back. Now, what's also easy to do, you can just take your thumb. All right, so my thumbs are built for this. Yours might not be. However, there's no reason you can't start today. But actually, you'll find that you're really sore in the foot. Most of us have these just pains. I think just actually pressing, don't worry about what points you're pressing. If you are pregnant, I would not do this. That's the one person who shouldn't be doing this. So if you are pregnant watching this, please don't press on your feet. So you can press on any areas of your foot, and it just feels good to warm up. So then I will switch my feet, and so now with my left foot, I'm now able to just rest my foot here. Again, if you need support, you can put another block here. So I have a couple options. I can dig my elbow in my hip and push, and I can also then rotate in the other direction. If you do feel any pops or clicks, that's okay. If they're causing pain, then you do want to talk to your doctor about that. Okay. Now, the next thing we can do, and this is a little more advanced, I like to stretch my toe joints out themselves. So I'll actually take my toe and pull on them. So as a chiropractor, I'm a little more trained how to do this, but it's still, even just stretching the toe joints separately and moving them around, you can circle each toe joint and move them in different directions. You can stretch them backwards and forwards. So the next thing we can do with our feet is actually circling them around. So what we're doing here, by you moving them, you're stretching different tissues by moving them by yourself. So I can hold my ankle and I can just move it around and I get flexibility, or I can get even more range of motion by some self movement and circling the ankle joint around and circle in a direction. I always like to pick a number, like I'm gonna, depending on time, I'll pick like four circles in one direction and 4 in another, or if it's 3 or 6, just depending on how much time that I have. So I want to hold the top ankle part, and mine's a little clunky here, and I feel I've had a lot of injuries in the past, so I can rotate the ankle around in both directions. And I can also pull it up and pull it down and stretch. So I'll show you that on the other foot too. So here, I'm holding the clunky big part of the ankle. I can move it around myself. I can stretch here, forwards and backwards, circle in one direction, circle in the other direction. Now another thing that's real simple, again, if you're sitting at your desk at work, you can simply, there's 2 things you can do. One is by taking your shoes and socks off. That's just a good, it's not always acceptable in the workplace, but it's good for your feet, it's good for your body and your health. One advanced technique you can do is you can actually take a piece of paper and start working to crumple that piece of paper with your foot. So that's going to be really helpful just for foot dynamics and getting your foot stronger. The next one is if you're just like sitting at your desk, you can write the alphabet with your foot. And that puts the if you want to do script or print, whatever, or cursive, whatever you want to do, you can do that, even just moving the feet around. So I have a great tool here for you. Whether you played lacrosse or not, you can easily get one of these lacrosse balls on Amazon. The reason they're great is because they're thick rubber and solid. And what we're going to use this for is actually working on our feet. I like to use this in the mornings, every morning when I wake up. It's one of the first things that I do. I'll get out of bed. I have other rituals that I do about being grateful and also just moving, general stretching. But when I start my movement practices, I will just stand up squarely here. I'll place the ball on the ground. If you need balance, make sure you're grabbing onto something around you on the side. And simply all I will do is grab this and work on each area of my foot, which we talked about, all those areas that touch the ground, the back, on my heel, on the inside of the foot, outside of the foot. This is just a great routine on waking up the body and getting it to start to move. And even if you have pain, this is going to work great. Your back, and many of us suffer from low back pain, our back touches the floor through our feet. So if our feet aren't moving right, the problems work their way up what's called the kinetic chain. So getting the feet moving is one of the most important things, just starting in a healthy body movement routine. Okay, next we're going to work on the wrists. Carpal tunnel is one of the most common problems that we see here in the clinic as well. I know that everybody's getting their wrist cut open for carpal tunnel surgery, and it's really a shame because there's a lot of things that can be done, a lot of natural remedies from Heal and Soothe to different procedures like PRP and wrist adjustments and things like that. What I want to give you is the ability to keep these wrists mobile and have some good flexibility on a daily basis. First thing that I want you to do is actually, you'll see where there's two little divots on the side here on your wrists. You can just grab with a pincer grasp here. You're actually just going to grab your wrist and traction your wrist over your hand. You'll feel, even if you just squeeze, you can feel that creates a little opening. Arthritic wrist or not, you can get some really good opening in the wrist joint here, just from that. Okay, the next one is a simple prayer position. Now it's really important, again, we talked about keeping the whole body in line here and being able to bring the wrist down and create some flexibility here. That is not an easy stretch. So again, I don't want to crash down or shift over side to side. You want to pull down and get a nice stretch there. To combat that the other direction, I can push wrist to wrist here and stretch. As we're doing this, the next one, keeping the whole body square, you're going to take the thumb and grab where where the other side of your knuckles. So this is my left hand. I'm putting my thumb right here, my hand's here, and I'm able to stretch my wrist this way. I like to get a big full stretch open so that it stretches my bicep muscle. I can engage the shoulder, keep that packed down, and stretch the wrist out this way. So you're really opening it up. Next one is to simply, again, as if you're doing a handstand, you can actually, or you can do a couple things. We can keep our fists straight out and just stretch the hands as far as possible. Because we spend a lot of time either grabbing our phones or pens or typing. So we want to work on really just stretching and opening the wrists here. And I can flex my wrist backwards and get that same stretch. These next two stretches that I use on a consistent basis I stole them from Aikido and I use them on a constant basis here. A little more challenging, I'm going to show them to you and then I'm going to explain them. So the first one looks like this, and then the second one looks like this. So what you're going to do on the first one, and we'll have some really good instructional videos here, you want to if you take your left hand, you're going to put your knife edge right on your chest. Knife edge of your hand is right here. It's going to go right on your chest here, in between both pecs. You want to keep a nice square posture here. Thumb on the right hand goes in between the pinky and ring finger. Your fingers are going to grab the fat pad here. So that's your first step. What I'm going to do is push the thumb and pull the fat pad of the hand so it creates a stretch. And this is going to hurt. You don't want to do it to a point where you're going to break your own wrist. That's a no-no. So I like to stay in line. I'll take a breath in. Get a nice stretch there. Then I like to just shake them out. Next one, we're going to bring 90 degrees at the elbow here, and then 90 degrees at the wrist. My thumb is going to point downwards. Intuitively, I'm going to want to grab my hand like this. That's not how this one works. Okay, so we're gonna have to fight some of our own intuition here. So wrist is pointing down, you're gonna keep your fingers together. My left hand the fingers are pointing in the same direction as the thumb. I'm going to grab my entire hand, so I'm gonna squeeze it all. So I'm squeezing my thumb and grabbing my entire fingers here, so I have my whole hand. Now, even if you can see here in the video, it's too high, so I wanna keep my shoulders down, so you gotta check yourself here. I'm gonna pull my wrist inwards. So I shorten that 90-degree angle in my elbow and in my wrist, and I'm going to rotate that up towards my nose. Okay? So what's cool, a little secret here, in Aikido, you train to do these because these are all the wrist locks that you put on people so that you can bring them down to the ground. So I've learned to use these when I trained in Aikido, but I now use them for my wrist because as a chiropractor, I'm using my wrists on a constant basis, so I've had to really take care of them. So in a good sequence and a flow, once you get good at these, I'll work it as reps, or meaning like I'll do 3 or 4 in a row where I'll do this stretch here with the knife edge, I'll roll right into this one here, and then I will roll right into that one there. And if you see me here in the office, you'll see that I do this as a warm-up before I'm working on bodies. Shake them out, move them around. Last tip I have for you, you can take a rubber band that you get at the supermarket, put that right around your fingers and work on opening that up. That's a great tool because if you just realize like everything we're doing is in this compressed posture. So really want to just work on opening things up. Now from this seated position as well, I can work on, and we've with myself and the Healthy Back Institute, we've worked on showing everybody the mountain pose and things that's worked effectively. But again, a seated mountain pose is here, and most of us sit for a lot of our lives. So just making sure, always keeping yourself in check. Head is going to be over the shoulders, shoulders over the hips, and if you're standing, hips are over the ankles. So I want to thank you for spending time, and I really encourage you to create a daily movement practice that becomes a meditation. Our lives are getting more stressful, pain is increasing. We have a human body, and this is going to take us through our lives. So if you can treat this body as a temple and as good as you can, it's going to last you longer. So thanks for being with me.